Today we're going to talk about a very important topic for all the students and the faculty, teachers involving in major teaching work. As we all know that teaching at right level is very important. In this particular video, we're going to look at the most important, the most famous taxonomy of educational qualification is called as Bloom's taxonomy. And today, most of the educators, most of the teachers are failing to apply these principles or the model or a framework, the model which helps you to understand the level of the students, level what they are studying at, and what is their main objective of learning. And meeting those objectives is very important as a teacher or a trainer or an educator. Bloom's taxonomy framework is developed by Benjamin Bloom in 1956. He, with his collaborators Max, Edward, Hill, David, published a framework called Taxonomy of Educational Objectives. This framework became a base for most of the educational institutions now, gauging the level of the students and testing them on an appropriate level. Most of the engineers today, most of the MBAs today, not at that appropriate level because of they are taught at a level which is lower than expected. According to Bloom's taxonomy, there are 6 levels. Number 1, the basic level is called as knowledge. Then you have comprehension. Then you have application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Let us look at each of them and also look at some of the keywords and questions related to each one of this particular level. If you are watching this video, please watch it completely because these 6 levels are based on each other, and it's like a ladder. So when we miss out something in between, then there is no point that we will learn this particular model. Let us start with the lower order level called knowledge. Knowledge, in other words, remembering. These type of questions usually test the ability of the students to memorize or recall the facts, the details, without necessarily understanding the concept. For example, I may ask you what is bungee jumping, and you may not relate, you may not understand what is bungee jumping, but you know the definition, you know the meaning of the dictionary which talks about bungee jumping. So I may talk about, let's say, Android. Maybe the term Android, you know about it, it's an operating system in a mobile phone, but you may not know or you may not have an understanding of how it operates or whatever it may be. Usually knowledge is about recalling, about memorizing, defining, about identifying, about stating what really means. So you can use some of the questions to test a level of remembering or level of knowledge of a particular student through some of the questions such as what is, how would you describe, why did. The second type of level in Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy, is understanding, or we call it as level of comprehension. When we want to test an ability of a student about describing or summarizing a particular topic without necessarily relating to anything in the world, means they may not relate, but whatever has been taught, they got some idea out of it and they're able to explain. So they may not relate it to the real world. Suppose if I say, let's talk about how a motor works or how a generator works, and I have explained you everything, and I told you describe how a motor works, and you have given me all the steps, and you told me about all the steps, but you never seen how a motor works. You cannot apply without having a knowledge of how it actually used, and you can explain me or describe me, then obviously you are at an understanding level. The keywords usually used to test a person in this level is describe, distinguish, explain, interpret, predict, recognize, and summarize. Some of the questions you can ask students: what facts or ideas shows? How would you compare X with Y? How would you classify? Can you explain what is happening? These are some of the questions which helps you to gauge the knowledge of the student, whether he is at a comprehension level or he is at a knowledge level. The third level is, from here we are going into the higher order level, which is called as application. Here we go. This is where engineering first year starts. This is where a degree graduates or degree students or a graduates usually should start. Application questions encourage students to apply or transfer learning to their own life. If I talk about something in a classroom, and if a student can relate it to the real life, if I ask a question, he or she is giving an example of a real life, or the concepts which are learned in the classroom can be, if they are able to apply it in a real life, then we can say a student is at a application level. The example questions of this particular level is: what would result if something happens? What facts would you select to show? What approach would you use in this particular problem or in solving this particular problem? How would you use the concepts which I just taught in your real life? Such questions will test a student at a level of application, and this encourages the students to take or transfer the knowledge in the classroom to the real world. The next higher order level is called as analysis. Analysis, another word, it's called as relating. So level of analysis, the questions students encouraged to break down the entire concept into different parts or different patterns or different sections, or subdivide or the topic into different slots. If you can divide it, if you are able to analyze, differentiate, distinguish, explain, relate, then you are at a analysis level. So when you are in the BTech third year or second year to third year, you should be in a level of analysis. The questions probably which are helpful are: what inferences you make? What is the relationship between? What evidence can you find? What things justify? So these are some of the questions related to analysis level. When we are teaching students at graduation or early post-graduation level, we should keep our answers at this level. We should keep our teaching at this level so that we can meet the learning objectives of that particular course at that particular level. Synthesis is nothing but creating. This particular level, students are encouraged to create something new by using a combination of ideas from different sources to form a new or entire new concept. When you are doing the project, You will not work with one concept I taught. You have to work with all the concepts interrelated and combine them and design a particular model with the help of combination of knowledge, understanding you have received, you have got in the classroom. The keywords are combine, create, design, develop, integrate, organize. These are some of the keywords of this particular synthesis model. Then the questions you may pose, what could be changed to improve this? So, what way would you design? What outcome would you predict for? These are some of the questions related to analysis. Finally, we are into the last level of higher order level of Bloom's taxonomy is evaluation or judging. Evaluation questions or evaluation teaching encourage students to develop opinions and make value decisions about issues based on a specific criteria. Let us look at this in a detail. So let us look at the keywords first. Assess, critique, determine, evaluate, judge, justify, and recommend. So basically, whenever a student does a project, at the last he will be writing about findings, suggestions, or recommendations. We want students not only come up with a new model and also tell us about how this particular model is better than the other existing models, how this particular model can be implemented and in what manner it can be implemented compared to the other models which are already existing. When a student can demonstrate a better evaluation and he is trying to justify on his answer, then obviously we are talking about an evaluation. And evaluation questions are: how could you select, how could you prove, how would you prioritize, what information would you use to support. So these are some of the questions which are related to teaching. As a teacher, it's a responsibility, it's a duty to teach and assess the students at the level they are studying. If they are at a school level, look at what standard you are going to and find out what are their learning objectives. What is the main intention of that particular course in that particular year? First. Second thing, every time, even it is a formative assessment or a summative assessment, it is important to frame questions in such a way that all that learning outcomes are tested on the level which are required. For example, I am giving a question to a student of MBA, what is management? What I am trying to test here, his knowledge. Is it right level to test about his knowledge? No. Probably I can give him an assignment or a presentation and tell him that why management is very important for any company. If you are a manager, what would you recommend in order to increase the productivity of the employee or in order to reduce the absenteeism? How can you justify that the solution which you have given is better than the solutions which are existing today? So if he is tested at this level, then he have an opportunity to explore his knowledge bank, explore his real world. So this model really makes a big difference in students' life. So make sure that you all follow. And if you like this video, please subscribe this channel, like this video and share it with other friends, teachers who are working in different universities, and let's all work for the betterment of the students. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.